will say I am honored to be standing here before you at beat night. My name is JohnBrenneman.com, but you can call me John Brenneman for short. These days I also answer to a Man of Remarkable Restraint, for that is the title of my debut novel. And Beat Night Overlord Mike Nelson has insisted that I promote the book tonight. So here goes. It's the story of a writer. It's the story of a writer downsized from a multi-decade career in newspapers, cut loose to discover what comes next, while grappling with a lifetime of madness. Shocking confession, our troubled protagonist is loosely based on me. When I got downsized from my newspaper career back in 2014, I found myself paying closer attention to life's small annoyances. People flicking cigarette butts on the ground, not cleaning up after their dogs, failing to acknowledge small kindnesses like holding open a door, and back then, the new tourist helicopters that were buzzing overhead constantly. I began to imagine a character who was tormented by such small annoyances, a character whose conscience is pulsed with a baked-in anger that he must constantly push down by exercising, yes, remarkable restraint. Then I began to wonder why this would be. That answer will be revealed a bit later. But first, a brief reading from chapter 2, in which our man of remarkable restraint, Charles, gets downsized. I will follow that up with a few fun, wordplay-driven pieces, circle back for another glimpse into a man of remarkable restraint, and then close with a word for my fellow writers in the room. Oh, and I almost forgot. We've got rare first edition copies of the book available here tonight for just $15. All right, in this scene... Yeah. We have also special editions for $50 as well, gold embossed. In this scene, Charles is getting laid off. On the bright side, there is a severance package. What? Did you say severance package? Because I could swear I just heard you say severance package. The way I've always understood it is severance is for people who don't have jobs anymore. And I'm pretty sure when I walked into this newsroom and over to my desk 15 minutes ago that I had a goddamn job. Was this really happening? Jesus, Catherine, after all we've been through, elections, fires, murders. I mean, our work helped the cops lock up the goddamn oyster shooter. And this is how it all ends, with can I speak to you in my office? And on the bright side, there's a severance package. Charles had devoted himself to the Beacon for 2+ decades. Bought a home, set down roots in a routine that reined in his most destructive impulses. And now, not only was the rug yanked out from under him, he felt like he was being rolled up in the remnants and thumped with a Louisville slugger. He thought of the expression, "Don't burn your bridges," but his mind was already unmoored and bobbing against the current. Why were his hands suddenly gripping a plunger connected by a wire to a large pile of dynamite? Why was he wearing the kind you see in those Roadrunner cartoons? Why was he wearing that weird smile as his hand pressed down the handle into the body of the device? Why wasn't anything happening as the plunger hit the tick, tick, bop, boom? The newsroom, the hallway, and half the building exploded, engulfed in the thundering tsunami of searing, rolling, rumbling flames. Smoke alarms wailed, and the presses stopped. His now former boss, the woman who had just blown up his world, was covered in soot. Cartoonish wisps of smoke rising from her head and arms. Her computer melted into a Dali-esque blob. Eyes stinging, throat thick and dry. Charles waved the acrid fog away from his face. "Damn, Catherine," he said, "you probably had no choice." Outside, first responders would surely be racing toward a technicolor mushroom cloud tinged with cyan, magenta, yellow, and black from those big barrels of meat down in the press room. Charles shook his head and looked down. Sure, he was relieved that his Looney Tunes fantasy was a wily coyote daydream and not something more berserk and sinister. "Goodbye, Catherine," he said as he trudged toward the lobby. "Charles, wait," she called after him. "Charles!" But he was already gone. When the mid-morning sunlight smacked his face, he blew out a gutful of stale air and autopiloted over to his car. Charles had never been a big drinker, but he'd also never been booted from his job. In the movies, he figured the guy usually heads straight down to the bar to drown his sorrows, bend the ear of some world-weary barkeep. The carved wooden sign jutting out over the sidewalk above his head said Muggsy's. "Give me a double." The bartender met his order with a hard stare, then an annoyed squint and a shrug. You're in a real bar, not a movie bar," Charles told himself. "You can't just say, 'Give me a double.'" Four Roses bourbon straight up, please. The barkeep obliged, slapping down a coaster and sliding several fingers of fine ground firewater. Charles nodded, lifted the glass to his nostrils. He breathed in and let the strong fumes tickle his frontal lobe. What the fog just happened? Next, here is a favorite piece, one that I actually performed in this very same space almost 4 years ago. Nowadays, a lot of my humor writing falls under the category "in a world gone haywire." Take the economy, please. Everybody ready for the next meltdown? I say brace yourself, because something tells me the next one is going to be the cash apocalypse that liquidates the whole damn planet. Here's a sneak peek into what that might look like. I hope you don't mind if I slip into my fake TV news anchorman character for a moment. Good evening. I'm Triple Action News anchorman Reid, reporting live from the Book and Bar newsroom here in the United States of America. Our most depressing story tonight, this just in, from all four hemispheres, north, south, east, and west. Income inequality is causing economic distress. Yes, the middle class is getting burned in Burma and squeezed in Belize. Conditions are lousy in Laos and really bad in Chad. Investors are edgy in Egypt and fidgety in Fiji. We've just learned that Norway is in disarray, and conditions are rotten in Denmark. They're short on greenbacks in Greenland, and the global economic meltdown has frozen assets in Iceland. There is fiscal squalor from here to Guatemala, and foreclosures galore in El Salvador. There's no equity in Ecuador, the low on dough in Mexico. Wall Street is hated in Haiti, and Panama is in the red. The teleprompter is prompting me to tell you that the geofinancial landscape is spinning out of control. The situation is serious in Syria, and things are no easier in Tunisia. Recession mania has spread from Albania to Romania, and Russia is poised for a hostile takeover of Lithuania. Depression has cast a pall over Nepal, but North Korea has no idea. Mongolia is now a wholly owned subsidiary of China. Yes, the situation is bleak in Mozambique, and there is no cash flow in Morocco. Unregulated wheeling and dealing in New Zealand has caused empty ATM machines in the Philippines. This just in, the economic storm has now reached Cameroon. The African nation has asked member nations to share resources, but Botswana doesn't wanna, Ghana isn't gonna, and Kenya just ain't. Leading economic growth are predicting the collapse of the euro. They're trying to stop the bleeding in Sweden, and the Czech Republic no longer takes checks. Polls show increasing polarization in Poland, and homeowners are getting the boot in Italy. They're getting fleeced in Greece, people are starving and hungry, and the French economy is fried. And we are just learning that the financial pain in Spain is felt mainly in the plain. Thank you, and good luck. one tone for reasons that are unknown. His management team wants M-Tone to broaden his appeal by rebranding himself as a robot rapper. Next up, it is my distinct and singular pleasure to introduce you to another one of my alter egos, Mr. Billy Buck Teefus, the American redneck savant. He doesn't look too bright, but he's living proof that you shouldn't judge a Billy Buck by its cover. He's here tonight in his capacity as an unofficial spokesman for Four Roses Bourbon. After all, a new report in the Imaginary Journal of Medicine reveals that in a world gone haywire, alcohol is highly effective in combating the pain and discomfort often associated with sobriety. Fine, 4 roses Now we're back to the book. Let's check out a scene from chapter 8 that helps explain why Charles is so messed up. Here, he is sitting down at his laptop to give voice to the childhood pain that made him such an utterly dysfunctional and tormented adult, to help process the experience, as writers do, by putting it into words. Damn, this is long overdue, Charles thought as he kicked off his sneakers and lowered his lanky frame into the chair, back rigid, mind reeling. It was dark out and he could hear a police sign wailing in the distance. At first he just stared at the laptop, blanking on how to begin, but then, think of it as a fiction story, he told himself, loosely based on the life of a psychologically damaged lunatic. Started hitting the keys. The boy knew he had anger issues long before people started whispering behind his back that he might have anger issues. Anger issues. He'd been a 5-year-old anger prodigy thanks to the daily training under the hard-hitting open and closed hand of the master. Thick black eyebrows and a short white-hot fuse, his father was a free-flowing wellspring of fury. But the son had long ago mastered a certain ability to suppress, grimace, and go with it, lest he invite even more abuse. Cruel fate for a bright, sensitive child with an innate understanding of most everything. The boy understood that where the best parents blanket their offspring in unconditional love, his father seemed driven to smother his firstborn in a quilt of rage. The older man, stocky build, blocky jaw, itchy trigger fists, was not intelligent enough to understand that he was infecting his son's psyche with the seeds of lifelong internal conflict. Charles yearned to lash back, but his self-preservation instincts forged him into a self-styled stoic, whose only tantrums were inner tantrums, whose cries and shouts would be heard by no one except himself. Vent your rage on the inside, violently but silently, restricting audible vocal output, almost exclusively to, yes sir. He would clench his teeth, grind his teeth, bite his tongue, and seethe. The boy regarded his future with dread, so it's not as if he didn't see any of this coming. In fact, much of it would be foretold in what some would later call his manifesto. Writing he undertook as one of his strategies to stay on the right side of that fine, trembling line between grievance and insanity. A quick editor's note, my actual father was a wonderful, beautiful, loving man. In fact, the book is dedicated to Ernest S. Brenneman, 1929 to 2005, my dad. Here is another short scene in which Charles's anger plays out to comedic effect. He buys a Zen garden with a Buddha and bonsai tree to calm himself. What could possibly go wrong? Dragging that little rake through the sand felt soothing. Charles spritzed his bonsai and raked straight rows from one end of the box to the other. Then he smoothed the sand and traced the yin-yang symbol. He rubbed the Buddha's bald head and belly. Yes, he found all of this very soothing. Until a fat housefly invaded the scene. First it lighted on the bonsai, delivering a payload of 500 different kinds of bacteria. Charles had done his homework on these beastly parasites and made a special effort to keep them out of his living quarters. The little bastards carry disease on their legs, mouth, and the small hairs that cover their disgusting bodies, transferring microscopic particles of God knows what, after dancing and buzzing around feces, garbage, and rotting animal carcasses. Charles was now certain that the housefly was staring at him, taunting him with its beady, compound eyes. He knew that its thousands of optic lenses and quick reflexes made it extremely difficult to swat. Now it was getting cocky. Perched on top of the Buddha's head, it began grooming itself, using its forelegs to primp itself for the impending showdown. You're trespassing, mister. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. The fly did not budge. Charles even thought he saw it wipe its ass as it poised for emergency takeoff. He decided to use his meditative kung fu powers to swoop in and snatch the fly midair as it made its escape. Charles swiped his hand toward the fly and swatted the Buddha statue straight through the living room window. Still thinking he might have caught the fly, he shook his hand and made a quick throwing motion toward the table, hoping to stun or kill his prey empty. When he looked back at the garden and saw the fly standing on his rake, was overcome with an urge to smash it to hell. Bam! The Zen sandbox flew off the table. The uprooted bonsai was now peeking out from beneath the sofa. Charles screamed at the fly, now hiding inside a lampshade. He grabbed a green yard waste bag from the closet, swung it over the lamp, and began bludgeoning his table, destroying the lamp, filling the bag with light bulb shards. When he emptied the bag onto the table, the fly was there amid the rubble. It had sustained injuries to its head, wings, and abdomen. He hoped it might have also suffered a massive coronary. But just as he was about to squash it with a napkin and dispose of it once and for all, it jolted back to consciousness and darted out through the broken window. Charles hunched himself into a half-crouch, gripped a fistful of damaging quadriceps in each hand, and unleashed one more cathartic scream. Ah! Then he went to the medicine cabinet, shook out 2 ibuprofen, and inhaled them with a saliva chaser. But wait, there's more. Here is a live performance of a fun YouTube video I did to promote the book. Think crazy TV ads for used cars and Ginsu knives. Hey everybody, Crazy Johnny here, long-time writer, first-time novelist. Do you know how to read? Do you like stories that are highly amusing and psychologically twisted? Well, I got a book for you. It's called A Man of Remarkable Restraint. Made from the finest grade A pulp, this debut page-turner is literally flying off the shelves. A Man of Remarkable Restraint is jam-packed with dark humor, bright humor, intrigue, and suspense. Will the protagonist survive? Will he go crazy? Will you buy this book today? Paperback sticker price just $15 while supplies last. A Man of Remarkable Restraint is backed by our triple action guarantee. If you do not have at least 3 times, we will keep your money and write an even better book. But wait, there's more. If you act before midnight tonight, that is exhausting. Thank you. And please stay tuned for future messages from Remarkable Restraint. That's almost it from me. A writer who needs his glasses. A writer for whom turning 60 triggers a deep dive and probably a few cannonballs into a more focused and expansive creative life. Someone who identifies as a writer since birth, finally going all in to discover what that really means during my time here on Earth. As part of this transition, I penned a piece called Coming Out as a Writer. It describes one scribe's epiphany as he sees his future flashing before his eyes. It aspires to be both sincere and tongue-in-cheek in expressing a moment of self-affirmation, passion, and excitement about the journey that lies ahead. Coming out as a writer. Needing more time for fiction, non-fiction, etc., I was experiencing friction in my work-life balance. Suddenly, I realized that the answer was right before my eyes. That to do right by myself, I needed to follow what feels right in my heart. Get myself back on the right track. Start making all the right moves, like being here tonight. Get my life moving in the right direction. Put myself in the right place at the right time. And if I play my cards right, I will write like the wind and write off into the sunset. Thank you for listening. Extra special thanks to Mike Nelson, to this evening's host, Lauren Vermette, to my friend Michael C. Ward, and of course to the lovely and extremely talented Beat Night Band. Thank you all very, very much.